Okay, folks, second time trying to record this. Last time I guess the speakers were covered up, so anywho, I'm feeling really exhausted right now. It's Tuesday afternoon, and I had an exam at 10:30. Got as much sleep as I could get. Got up a little bit early beforehand and just tried to jot things down in my reader, which we're allowed to do, put notes in there. Um, little equations, that sort of thing. To that kind of elucidate what's already in there. Um, When I took the exam, I had an exam yesterday, and I'd say on average I probably got between 2 and 3 hours of sleep on average for the last couple of weeks. And there's the camera right there. Okay. Um, but yeah, as you see in my last several videos, like it's just been kind of me venting about things, me kind of bouncing my ideas off of folks who are willing to listen and give advice, and I feel like I passed the exams, but I'm at that point in my academic career where I gotta be doing better than I'm doing. Passing. Passing is not good enough. I've about a 2.5 at my current university, and at least a handful of internships I've looked into, they'll overlook, the overall GPA of all college, credits completed. As long as you have a certain GPA at your latest school, like, Dow Chemical, they'll take you at a 2.7 or higher, and I've got right around a 2.5. So I have a handful of courses I could retake, and if I get A's in those, I think I'll boost my GPA up to about like a 2.8 or a 2.9, depending. And then of course there's this semester, so it's kind of like I need to turn things around. I've been holding the line, so to speak, keeping myself at least at passing, not failing, but I was really wanting to like walk into that exam, get every single question done, and walk out with a feeling of having aced it. Not just for my future, how it affect my GPA and chances of internships and that sort of deal, but really wanted to have things like a rub the answer in people's faces, I guess you could say. Because I figure that the only way I'm ever gonna um, have things, does anything bad or good, have things improve, get people off my back and that sort of thing, is if I kind of earn their respect by doing well in my classes, securing an internship. I've talked about the whole dominance hierarchy idea that I came across with Jordan B. Peterson's some of his lectures. He's gone over that in depth, and I've talked about that. That's where I think I came across that first, and then of course just that being mentioned, that red pill community overall, that there's a dominant hierarchy among men, and if you want folks to respect you, if you want your life to improve, if you want women to respect you, and at the very least be friendly to you, if not pursue you. And if you have a girlfriend, fiance, wife, for her to respect you and look up to you, and not I guess you could say not screw around on you or screw you over. It's kind of like you got to have that high position in the dominance hierarchy, or you have to gain that position. And for me, speaking in a very contextual sense, that would mean me becoming the best engineering student in the chemical engineering department that I can be, getting in that top so many percent of all the students, so that they'll look up to me and respect me. And that means doing more than just passing, because I've earned a certain position or a certain place by passing those classes, or doing above average, getting like a B minus or so. um, I gained some respect having done that. Obviously it's like, okay, this guy's serious enough, he's got some intelligence, some skill, but the social aspect is definitely lacking there. And it kind of feels like some of it's my fault, definitely, but that whole social aspect there has been giving me some real trouble. If you see my last couple videos, and it just it's like I've got enough stress and anxiety with studying thermodynamics, studying unit operations one, studying biochemistry, and then all the work I have with my intro to engineering class, which finally being able to take now because they actually had some spaces cleared, so I could go take that. Um, I've got all that stuff on my plate. I got all stuff on my shoulders. Sleep deprivation, living that caffeinated life. Heck, I'm losing weight from the stress and the anxiety and walking here and there, and just generally speaking, like wearing myself down. I already have that. Every engineering student has that. But then you toss in the fact that 50% is my fault. 50% has been other people's baggage from their own lives and how they've interpreted my actions or words or whatever. But that social aspect is like definitely lacking, and that's kind of like the other half of the equation. If you don't have any friends in your major, um, there goes your social life really, and there goes your, by and large, your ability to release stress and anxiety and such. And yeah, I can go over to the fencing center. I know where it's located. They're open, this hour. But I'm exhausted. And if I was to go get rest, I'd be waking up when they're already closed or so. And so my only real source, I guess you could say, constant present source of a social life is with my fellow students. And due to having that falling out with that girl, as well as just, I guess you could say, my spazzing out at times from stress and anxiety and, things of that nature, and my sense of humor being at what it is, um, that's not there. There's definitely a hostile, you could say, hostile working environment, if you will, or a hostile studying environment. And there's no real way to make it change until or unless they're forced to change. If I go next midterm and I get an A on the midterm, and along the way I get A's on the quizzes and the homeworks and so on, um, and my grade goes up, let's say I'm passing right now, solid C, and I go up to a B or a B plus, in those two really difficult courses, and then, I jump up to let's say same grade or higher, A minus even, in biochemistry, and engineering, I have an A in that right now. If I keep on, if I change around and I keep going in that positive direction, and I show that I'm on top of my things, I know what I'm talking about, I'm committed, I'm disciplined, that sort of deal. It's like, I've seen it happen to a certain extent this semester, in the positive sense that, people's attitudes and opinions of me have changed, and I've, um, made a handful of friends, or at least acquaintances, people who are at least not hostile to me. Um, it'll force people to talk to me and to be friendly and that sort of thing, and it'll definitely get rid of a lot of the tension and such. And that'll make my life easier, hopefully. But I'm feeling really worn down to the bone right now. And it's like the irony is, like, right now, let's say I took a nap for a couple hours and I got up and I was able to stay away from my phone and my tablet and let myself just rest, which has been a big issue for me. Like, laying down in bed and wanting to get on my tablet, laying down in bed wanting to get on my phone, not to look at PMO, not to get into PMO, but just to be surfing the net, for hours and hours. If I were to do that and get up, I could go and dive right into the books. I can go and read 2 or 3 chapters ahead of the class, and things of that nature. And that would definitely be something in the right direction as far as that aspect is concerned. But it seems like a large part of me, it's like I know what I need to do. All other things being equal, I know what I need to do academically, or let's say professionally, to succeed. Read the chapters, do the homework, um, take good notes. Take notes. Have a list of questions to ask the professor. Send her an email with a list of questions and ask those questions to get that help. That kind of stuff is already there. That's generic advice. And that makes sense. You put in the time, you get the results by and large. You figure out which equations to use and why to use them. You find out, what happens to this variable when this variable's other variables, values change, because this variable over here is dependent on that variable. You figure that kind of stuff out. That's a logic to it. I get that stuff already, but so many of my problems are rooted in, lacking social skills, social knowledge, social perceptions, or the ability to have accurate social perceptions, and sort of image of myself that I both created and has also been created for me. The echoes or reverberations of past actions or like events and that sort of deal. And I've seen in my past when I've had a support network of other students who were going through the same things as I was. Some of them were smarter than me, or some of them were harder working than me. They had more time, or they put in more time, or whatever the case may be. But as long as they liked me as a person, there were times when they would go out of their way to help me. And that ended up leading me to understand the material better, being able to perform better on my exams, so on and so forth. And I'm missing that here. I'm missing that here. And given that I talk about this stuff so much, my obsession with it is what it is, that it's quite clear it's a big problem for me. And until or unless I solve that problem, I think I'm gonna be like, it's gonna be like going forward in life with like a weight tied to your ankle, and you're like, that if you didn't have that weight there, you'd be like able to like run, a 6 minute mile, and do that multiple times in a row. You know that you have the ability. It's just that there's that weight tying you back, and whether that's your insecurities, whether that's your lack of social skills, whether that's, heck, lack of money, um, lack of connections, lack of a support network, etc., etc. Whatever that weight that's holding you back, it's like you got to figure out what that is, and you have to jettison that weight. And until or unless I do that, which changing my way of thinking, changing my way of acting, doing, living, I feel like this stuff is just going to keep on continuing and continuing and continuing as if it hasn't already. It's the stuff that, like, I wish had never been in my life to begin with, because, to start really, like, this is borrowing a term from some of the pickup artists, which, I'm not a pickup artist, I'm not really into that stuff, but they had, I guess, this term, like, hard case newbie. It's kind of like, realizing in some sense that I am that kind of person. It's like I wish I had realized that 10 years ago, and then and on top of that, I had been able to do something about it. But I haven't been able to do anything about it until now. Because now it's like I'm living on my own. I have my own room I rent. I live in, 450, 500 miles away from my folks. I can look myself in the mirror, and it's not like there's all this, other stuff there of, oh, well, today this stuff happened with my family, or this stuff happened with, the next door neighbor or whatever. It's like, no, dude, like, yes, there's stuff coming from other folks, in your major, in your classes, if I had a job at my job, etc. But 90% of this stuff is now me, I would say. And I don't necessarily mean to blame myself in a sense, but I'm saying like 90% is stuff that I could do something about. I could do something about, let's say 45%, half that 90% was stuff that I would change about myself, my routines, my focus, my study habits, etc. And the other 45% would kind of flow from that to being sort of secondary to my primary actions. And in other words, like, I started doing better in my classes because I've changed my routines. And the other 45% change it, which is like the perceptions people have of me, that's rooted in my actions and the results of my actions. And heck, you could look at it from a Pareto rules perspective of 20% of your causes lead to 80% of your effects. And I have to really figure out what those 20% are, and having gained that knowledge, I have to actually do something about it. And like I said, like, ironically enough, if I went to sleep, took a few hour nap, got up, I was well rested, if I had a choice between reading this book, The Rational Male, or reading my textbook, it seems to me, and this is kind of an issue, to put it lightly, because I'm also under a time crunch being an engineering student, but it seems like this book would have far more of an effect, you know, um, than just going and reading the textbook, which, might not be true. I guess in some sense, socially speaking, it's like I have a handful of people I can interact with, and if I just stick with those handful of folks and focus on my studies, maybe I can get to the point where those other folks who just heard bad things about me, don't have any evidence of it, they might change their perspectives, And if I've had conflicts with folks, I've had conflicts with a handful of people this semester. Maybe it would force them to have to interact with me, and then that might lead to positive results. Because beyond having enough intelligence or getting the right grades or so many things in life are rooted in social skills. We're social creatures as human beings, and if we don't know how to interact with other folks and work with them, we're gonna have problems in our lives. Because I guess this is probably true in some professions more than others, but definitely in engineering, by and large, I found that you're going to be on a team at some level or at some point or another time or another, and if you can't work on a team, then you're not really going to get anything done. You're not going to get anywhere, and you're probably going to end up, SOL. So, I've been saying this for time and time again, but I am planning on some magical workings. It's just like, it's a matter of figuring out what exactly is it I want and writing down those intentions and kind of doing my research. That's probably the majority of the tools that I use. I don't typically use the athame or dagger. I don't use the wand, that kind of stuff. It's kind of bare bones because I'm going off more of a Muslim or Islamic system where you recite certain verses of the Quran, you draw basically what we consider an invisible circle, but you kind of visualize it around you as your hisar, your protective circle. Then you start reciting certain incantations to draw the presence of the attention, the presence of the spirit that you're trying to call. And as far as I know, giving the spirit an actual physical medium to manifest in, I'm not sure on the specifics of that. I have a scrying mirror now, actually. I could unpack it. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit, to put it lightly. But I went ahead and acquired this scrying mirror. I know in most cases when they do summon jinn in the Islamic tradition, they typically do it in complete darkness. So I think this will be kind of my stand-in for quote-unquote complete darkness. Insofar as, it's a black scrying mirror. And it'll give the spirit I'm trying to summon a plane, to manifest itself upon. I haven't really used a triangle of the art. I'm not really too certain on that. As long as I have my hisar properly, cast, I should be okay. But that's going to be preceded by and followed by lots and lots of prayer to essentially call upon the divine presence and kind of clothe myself in that so that I don't have any real issues. But here, as you can see, that's the black scrying mirror I have now, and it has a stand that comes with it. So I essentially have the platform upon which to actually, presumably see and communicate with said spirit. But again, it's like I need to figure out what exactly is it I want with regards to these things, and if I'm quote unquote willing to pay the price, so to speak. Here is the stand. You can see that, yeah. There's some like lens wipes and that sort of thing to kind of keep it, clean. That's my scrying mirror. And I have the candles I have, scent associated with the Earls and Counts of the Goetia, as well as those associated with the Dukes. And I could easily acquire one associated with the Princes, which is cedar scented, and one's jasmine scented for the Marquis. Presidents, that's Storax or benzoin. Those are kind of hard to come by. Actually, getting a pure frankincense scented candle, I'm not really sure on that. I've looked it up, and they typically like to mix like frankincense and myrrh together, and myrrh is for the one night of the Goetia, I believe, if I remember correctly. But because I have a table of the correspondences and that sort of thing, and different colors and that deal, and I've created decent amount of the seals. I'm going to create the rest. I'm treating it partially as an art and craft project, and partially as meditation upon my own psyche, and of course preparation for magic working. So, but it's like those two things: the magic, the social skills. It's something I've really struggled with, and I want to settle that sort of stuff. But at the same time, like I gotta get my rest. I've gotta get up and get back on the horse and start reading and studying again, because other than being distracted with this girl business and problems and social problems, I also underestimated the workload for my classes. These are 4-unit classes, 3 of them, and then the interengineering is a 3-unit class, so it's 15 units total, and 12 units is considered full time. So I really don't get that much sleep in general. But that being said, I think my plan right now is to try to get some rest, and I'm going to set things up so I can study, and maybe before I go to bed, maybe before I take the nap, I'll try to at least get certain things done, magically speaking and such, so that I guess they won't be distractions for me when I wake up. But yeah, anywho, I think I'm coming up on almost 22 minutes, so I'm going to stop recording before this thing falls over, and I'm going to upload it. So anywho, folks, thanks for watching, and thanks for the likes, the comments, the subscriptions. Thanks for the support. See you folks around. Bye.